Hello and welcome for the first time for a centralized PEC stream of just our team playing another. Syracuse takes on the Utah Utes here for the first time in the Marley Education Center's auditorium. I'm Carson Cash, joined by Ryan Blankenhorn, and I am very excited to be here and to run you through this event. Ryan, how are you?
Yeah, Carson, it is very cool to be here, frankly. I mean, we got a little nice intro to it when Marley opened up last Friday.
Friday?
Friday.
Yes, it was Friday.
There were a lot of days last week, but it was really interesting. We were in the analyst booth, but it was cool, right? And now we're out here. We get to see what it looks like, and it is truly a spectacle.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic space, obviously. The first run-through being with, everybody who funded it and, the president of the university, the chancellor of the university, the dean of your own college. It's not a great feeling, but it did go very well that day, so very proud about that. But this is one of our first shows with this Overwatch team. Actually, it is the first show with this Overwatch team here. And they have one heck of a matchup today.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I mean, Utah, they are a team that has been a force to be reckoned with, not just in the PEC, but nationally. They are one of the best teams in collegiate Overwatch, and it does come down to very specifically one player on their roster, and it's PDK. PDK, a hit scam player, and they are just indescribable. I mean, completely disgusting with what they can do on that character.
Yeah, it's night and day. So PDK did not play last semester, and what you're seeing right now is Utah's 8-3. The record at the start of the semester was 4-3. So they've completely turned it around. They're 4-0, upset Boise State, who's ahead of them technically by only win-loss ratio in terms of rounds. Upset them 3-2 to start the season off. 3-1 Kansas, 3-0 Baylor, 3-0 Nebraska, and now we're here and they're going against a Syracuse team that's really got to prove themselves at some point here soon. Struggle against Ohio State, really trying to find their way this second half to get against this upper echelon of this conference and win.
Yeah, I mean, you went up against Ohio State. You've lost not once but twice at this point now. And now you're going to be going, or correction, you went up against Nebraska, right? Completely got a good win over that. And now you're going up against this Utah squad where the rest of this season for Syracuse is going to start to heat up a little bit. The rest of this sort of PEC second half. And now Syracuse really has to lock in to get these wins to put themselves up at the top because they're going to be tied with this Boise and this Utah team until they play them. So this is the night for Syracuse to take over Utah.
Yeah, obviously we will see these teams come April, hopefully, if you are a fan of the Overwatch team here. But this is Syracuse's kind of their second to last matchup against one of those top teams. Boise State's still down the road, and that's one you're always going to look for if you're Syracuse. Yeah. Doc Haskell's machine will always keep on churning. You always love to get a win over those Broncos. But the Orange have done a fantastic job putting it back together last week. Nebraska's a good win. It's a good feeling. Got to find a way to do it. And they did. And just got to do it well. And that's going to be kind of the story today. Entirely based on how this team plays together, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what it comes down to, this Syracuse squad. They've got one more week without those 5 new characters in the game. well, don't worry. We'll get into that eventually. But, they've got one more week to sort of get themselves a little bit more grounding before they start throwing in literally 5 new random characters that have only been in the game for a couple weeks now. Give yourself a little bit more time to really formalize what you want to do against some of these top dogs of the PEC, against Utah, against Boise, because you don't want to go into the PEC finals. This team is definitely a contender, but you don't want to go into the PEC finals and have to go up against Ohio State and still not have a good fundamental of where you want to play this game.
Yeah, and you look at it kind of on a national scale, and there's obviously national Overwatch rankings. I forget who posts them.
OWCRA.
Yes, OWCRA. They have Utah ranked with a full team at 7. And our squad today is going to have a very tough task putting up against it.
Yeah.
When they are full power, they are a very good job. So we'll jump right into this roster in a moment as they walk back in. Hello, Jackson, main support.
Saint.
Saint.
Up in the skies.
You can't really hate a guy like that. He's a phenomenal help on this team, and as we've got the glasses on the right and some facial hair on the left, Ben going to be one of your other supports. Mac and Azer running the middle at DPS, and Lunar, I would say the number 1 tank in the entire PEC, just based on overall viability has been very good this entire season. Maybe you'd argue King Hazard, but my bets are towards the moon and Lunar. Very good player, and the Syracuse squad is going to have a tough matchup today.
Yeah, I mean, Lunar is just a flexible tank in general. I mean, there's a couple tanks Lunar kind of refuses to play, and that's fair enough, right? Because sometimes he's like, nope, I'm not going to do it, right? Wrecking Ball, one of those characters. Just going to point it out, and that's all we're going to say about that. Moving into the other takes of the game, though, Lunar, very, very talented player. He really puts in the work to be the best tank that he can be, whatever is required of him from his team. He has dive tank, so he doesn't need to worry about Wrecking Ball. He can play Hazard or Winston instead, but the one character that I really want to shine on him is Orisa. Haven't seen much of the horse this season, but very, very powerful. Easily the best, probably one of the best Orisas in collegiate Overwatch at large.
Yeah, and that's obviously a hard title to beat, Lunar, and they've probably, I'd guess, played the most Orisa out of anybody in collegiate Overwatch.
Yeah.
Because when Orisa was bad, Lunar was still playing Orisa, and that change into more flexibility hasn't happened until recently. It's something that Lucas worked a lot over the summer. Was kind of just big on the main characters he played, a lot of Ram, a lot of Orisa, but really nobody else. And what's made him be such a dangerous force in this conference has been that adaptability he picked up over the summer. He took a big step forward. He's a very smart guy. He's an aeronautical engineering major. And I can tell you I can't do those numbers, but I can see that he crunches them very well. He's very good on the angles with Zarya. He does a great job playing the corners. Excellent space taker, and that's exactly what you need in this conference, and exactly what you'll need today. Going against a Tier 1 pro DPS, is going to be extremely difficult for the Syracuse squad, and it's going to be kind of a different slog.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you have a team that's overall a very good team, but a lot of it is centralized around sort of getting that pick, right? I mean, when Widowmaker was really, really good in the game, early in Overwatch 2 and definitely in Overwatch 1, it came down to, can your Widow get a kill? It was literally, that was the composition. When Double Shield meta was in the game, when Double Shield was in the game, you played a Widow and you played a Hanzo, and your only goal, get a kill, we run it down. And that's literally all they did. And that's kind of how PDK is with Utah. It's like, we're going to put them on Freya, assuming Freya gets through for the majority of these games, and just get a kill. That's your only job, and we're going to push on that. Syracuse looking to play more of that team style, which is kind of what happened against that Ohio State squad.
They'll jump in after the team meeting, if we'll call it that. Oasis, I believe, will be the starting map tonight. That is the pool of the week. So bans as they work, characters can be banned one time by each team. Not one time by each team, one time total for the match. So we'll see what they can do. Mac sits down, and we talk about how big beating that kind of DPS will be. It'll be in this hit scan of this Overwatch squad. Mac, it's going to be all on the Chicago native to find a way to push forward and win for the Syracuse squad. He's got to go one-on-one and win.
Yeah, I mean, Mac came into this semester and came into this roster on that hit scan DPS, sort of subbing himself in for Speed Glasses, who was the previous hit scan DPS, taking this spot in, and has really shown why he is a good player and shown why he belongs and sort of meshes well with this roster. He's had history with a lot of these players. The only one who he hasn't had history with is Saint, actually. So the other three players on that roster, Mac has had very good connections with and has worked with in the past. And he has been a very, very prominent figure, especially on characters like Sojourn, going into a lot of these games. And like you said, right, it's probably really going to be down to between Mac and PDK.
Yeah, and I mean, Mac is a junior transfer from DePaul. Yep. It's going to be really interesting to see what he can do, essentially, with this. Because he has to go one-on-one, basically, and the way you win against Utah is you diff the best player in collegiate on the DPS-wise. I actually don't know if that's true. He is probably the best DPS in collegiate. He's the best DPS, surely, in the PEC when he plays. Yeah. So we actually haven't gotten confirmation that he is playing.
No.
He's a weekend guy. He does attend the university, but he's a weekend guy for sure. So we'll see if he can take Syracuse if he's not afraid of us. So we'll see generally how that's going to go. Otherwise, this Syracuse squad can beat Utah. There is no doubt about it. This squad already 3-0'd them. The squad that they use if PDK is not playing. It'll be interesting to see, but I don't think it'll be much of a match if he's not playing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to consider is, like you said, I mean, PDK is a really, really good player, and it's a different sort of match that Syracuse is going into. But the biggest thing that has made Syracuse such a good roster and such a good team has been the front-to-back communication. What I mean by that is the Lunar to Saint communication, the way that they work with one another from the tank line in the front to the main support in the back. It has been truly phenomenal from that team, and that's what's made them such an oppressive team for such a long time. And then you run into teams like Ohio State who are very similar in that sort of fundamental, similar in that comm structure, and it just gets a little bit different, right? Just that step right above. And Now you move into a team that's going to be a lot more mechanically gifted, and so the fundamentals versus the mechanics are really going to be shown today, especially PDK, like you said, is in today.
Yeah, Syracuse is one of those team squads who plays very well together, and when one of them isn't playing well, you see it because they do not play well. They are heavily dependent on each other to play well at certain moments. Different choke points are different, but if Lunar is off, the entire team won't be there to carry them. They are a cycle. They are a machine. And the big thing for them is to find a way together to win, to play as one unit and rotate properly. You need to find a way to make sure your backline is getting support if you are going to run dive. That's the issue we saw against Ohio State. Hazard would just kind of jump right in. It'd be easy for them, really.
Yeah, and that is sort of the scary part, right? Like you said, like, I mean, this team, another thing I want to mention is they're very used to sweeps.
Yes.
You know, and this is something that we talk about in collegiate, but we don't really talk too much here on the PEC about, is the way that sweeps work in collegiate. They are unfortunately very common, but the problem that makes it common is the mental, right? Is you start losing, you lose, and there's just finding that switch to turn it back around. That is sort of the big monster to any collegiate player and collegiate team is we've lost one game, the series is over. And Syracuse has been a team that's been sweeping and swept basically only this season. So aside from, I believe, 2 games. But it's like that is something that you do need to be aware of if you are Syracuse is if you go down a map, you can't let that affect you.
Utah is not a down-and-out team, nor are they a team that's not susceptible to comebacks. They went up 2-0 against Boise State, and they almost lost. They went to Game 5 overtime and ended up winning on pretty much good timing if you look at it back.
Yeah.
Boise State had that game under control, and I spoke about it briefly, but they are a phenomenal program over there at Boise, and Utah beating them is not to be taken lightly, even if this Boise program is on a off-year, quote, with 3 losses where they lost to Kansas. But, again, we're seeing a weird development in the PEC where anybody can beat anybody in any given sport. We talk about Baylor in the Rocket League. They're such a good team. Nebraska is the closest team to having beat them because Nebraska went in there and just did whatever the heck they do on their regular basis and was different. Collegiate is really interesting, especially at this level, because you're training against very high teams and you're going to learn at some point, and these guys are learning.
Yeah, I mean, it's playing rock, paper, scissors. There will never be a winner. There's always going to be someone beating you into the next beating you.
I mean, you're bringing a frying pan to rock, paper, scissors at a certain point, and then the guy who's really good at rock, paper, scissors doesn't know what to do, and that's what you see in these upsets.
Yeah, and you know, another thing, that I want to briefly talk about is sort of with this Syracuse rosters, they're always looking to sort of get that edge. Right, they're always looking to get a little bit better, a little bit different than the other team, and they have no fear of sort of learning from other teams. I mean, just before this, their warm-up match was against Ohio State, right? The team they've now lost to twice. They learn from that team. They play against that team. They learn from what they are doing, and they adapt that into their own game plan and their own gameplay. And now as they move into this Utah squad, they're going to be taking a lot of the information they take from Ohio State, who is currently seed 1, right, and bring that in and try to adapt that against this Utah team.
If you're curious where teams lie around the rankings, I believe Utah is top 10. I know Boise State's just outside that top 10, I believe 13th. And Ohio State receiving votes just beyond the top 20. They are, I believe, technically 24. Yep. I think they're the best team of the 3, in my personal opinion, because of how they play as a team. You are not beating them in any which way. They are the most intelligent team program right now in the Overwatch scene. I think collegiately, potentially, but certainly in the PEC. Coming to Vegas, I would probably put the house on them. That would be and I mean, that would be absurd to see, I think, with especially what kind of rosters we've built in the PEC. But King Hazard is a sicko, and I mean that in a very good way. But it's a good guy to learn from.
Yeah, and you say a level of, like, you think Ohio State is a little bit higher and all this. The way that OWCRA sort of ranks is off of the highest and most sort of prevalent competitions in collegiate. So you look at some of the leagues that are nationally based and have hundreds of teams in them. That's where a lot of these rankings are based off of. So I remember when I was working with Syracuse last year, I knew someone on the OWCRA committee, and I was like, okay, come on. What does it take for us to get into top 20, right? We're beating Boise State. We're taking maps against UT Dallas. It's like, what do we got to do? And eventually we got ourselves in there. But, it is a little difficult, but like you were saying, Carson, you take a look at this PEC conference, right? Or PEC conference. There you go. Power Esports Conference. You take a look at this. You have some of the best teams in collegiate, but because they're not playing, the St. Clairs or whatever within the PEC, OWCR kind of takes it out a little bit, but it is something to be very, very aware of. Is they are different when they play some of these teams. Boise State, Syracuse University, Ohio State, Utah, very, very good teams.
Yeah, and beating to them today with a full roster would put the world on notice. You'd probably see Syracuse next. Well, I don't know. They post it monthly now. It's now monthly. I think.
It's monthly.
You would see them monthly next month, maybe against Syracuse or up there with Utah, as we jump and take a little look at the guy who will be leading the charge, Azer Levinson? I always get it wrong. I always think there's a T in there. Huntington, New York native. He's an information management senior who will be spending his graduate years here, so you'll get plenty more Azer if you are an Azer fan. And for me, that's great. I love to see this guy. He is not our hit scan DPS. He's towards the other end where he just fills whatever role is necessary on that DPS. I don't like giving it a title specifically because it is so different, but Harris is very good at what he does. He's a big part of what makes this team glue when they play together and when they're playing well, but it's kind of live and die. When Harris is off, this team can totally fall off the rails.
Yeah, and that is something that it was going on in what you were saying earlier, right? If one player is off, it kind of turns into the whole team falls a little bit further back. And if you look at, how Azer plays, right? When Azer is on Genji or on Vendetta and he is just nailing through and getting those kills, it is very apparent. You have Mac following up, getting some great kills as well. The rails typically on Sojourn. You have great pressure coming in from Lunar. Your backline stays alive. It's a well-oiled machine. But if one of those gears aren't oiled, it gets a little clunky and you can't quite get it moving. And that has been seen against the Syracuse team.
Yeah, I mean, let's run through a little bit through these picks here. So obviously we've got Oasis map 1. What maps? Actually, let's just go run full game prediction. Full game prediction here.
Okay.
Give me score, full rosters, who wins, and by how much and why.
Okay, so with the way that Utah is playing, assuming we got PDK in, assuming we have this full rank 7 roster in, I think this may be potentially a Game 5 series. However, I'm going to go Game 4. And the reason I'm going to go Game 4 is it truly depends. Well, I'm getting there. Don't worry. I'll get it there.
The surprise.
The reason I'm going to say Game 4, right, it's going to be a 3-1 victory for one of these teams, is if Syracuse makes it to Game 5, Syracuse wins. It's a 3-2 victory for Syracuse. If the game ends at 4, Utah will take the victory. And the reason is it is going to come down specifically to push. Push is such a momentum-driving game mode. It snowballs, right? But it snowballs further than just on push. It snowballs into map number 4. And so whoever wins that, I think, is going to end up taking the rest of the cake, whether that be Utah takes push, they'll then win Game 4, or Syracuse wins push, they lose Game 4 and win Game 5. This is just how it works in the system of Overwatch. Push is such a momentum driver.
Yeah, and obviously I think it depends on where you start playing on push.
Yeah.
There's some that snowball more than others, but they're all pretty bad. Once it starts going bad, it really starts going bad. Because, I mean,
there's no coming back. Yeah.
It's the only game mode in which you are rewarded for doing well in terms of you get a forward spawn, you get advantage for another period of time, because obviously when you're pushing regularly, you get advantage when you get through a checkpoint, and then you have to get through the other checkpoint. There's only 2 of those at maximum on each map. On some maps, there are 2 of them. But at a certain point on push, you are essentially on a way shorter map, a way shorter essential timer in terms of how often team fights will happen. And when the team is doing well, you tend to be doing well because it is so hard to reclaim that point once the team is clicked on. And, I mean, the rails are on. You're not going to get them off the tracks. They're pretty much a speeding train.
Yeah, and another thing to consider is also the control versus the flashpoint, right? They are identical game modes, right? The only difference is on flashpoint.
Hello, Ben.
Hi, Ben. On flashpoint, it is a first to 3 in a best of 5 of control. On control, it's a first to 2 basically in a best of 3. So in a sense, whoever wins control, you will likely see win on flashpoint, and that is something to consider. Sort of map 1 victor typically will be your map 4 victor, and that is something that I was sort of talking about, is if Utah ends up winning this, they could easily win Game 1, lose Game 2, win push, and then win flashpoint. And that is what worries me a little bit, is both of these teams can easily drive through the momentum. The reverse sweep, right? I mean, Utah drove through the momentum. Syracuse loves to do sweeps. They drive through the momentum. And so getting to that point, getting all the way there to map 4 and map 5 is going to be crucial. So like I said, Carson, my prediction, the way Syracuse wins this, it's a 5-game series, 3-2. The way Utah wins this, it's a 3-1 series for Utah.
Yeah.
Syracuse.
I'm curious to see sort of at a certain level with our guys essentially playing together as a team. Utah plays together a little bit less. They play a lot, enough to where I don't know if that matters. We also play a lot, a heck of a lot. But
this is true.
This is true, but that totally threw me off. Anyway, with the entire kind of team chemistry, how are they going to put themselves together is kind of the big question for me. And the key to this game for the Orange will be essentially breaking down the Utah team format. Getting into the backline is huge because PDK is trying to get into their backline. He will never defend his healers because that's not his job. He's a hit scan. He's going to move forward. He's going to take a better position that he can. Eventually, this will be horrible when the new 5 characters get added and PDK becomes even better because it's how it works.
Yeah, but PDK will be on MRAP.
Yeah, when they strap him to a jetpack cat and fly him around into your backline, that'll be really cool. I'm really ready for Bastion duels. That unfortunately might be meta, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
Have you heard of Far Mercy, Carson?
Man,
I welcome you to Bastion Cat.
I actually stopped playing the game before Far Mercy became out of meta. Not stop playing the game. I stopped playing the game in ranked.
Ah, that's fair. Yes.
Got some quick
my ranked teammates do not shoot in the sky, or play characters that can even shoot into the sky. So, Far Mercy was kind of brutal back when I played ranked. But that's why I didn't play ranked.
I mean, that's like pre-rework for Mercy, right? That's like. Yeah, I still like that alt. I thought that alt was super fun, and maybe it was because
the 6-person res?
That was hilarious. That was the funniest thing ever.
Leave. Go.
The door is right there, obviously.
There's
doors beautiful auditorium behind us. That's Jackson. That's him right there. Yeah, we've got a lovely auditorium here, and I can leave at any time I want. I'm not trapped here, though. I'm ready to stay.
It's not a glass box.
Overwatch. No, it's not anymore. There's some air. There's some air.
I can reach. I can reach out. There's air. I mean, you know what, Carson? That's fair. I do want to actually take a moment to talk about how the Marley space has really been something that we can really start to use. Is this new space is top of the line. Carson, when we were at the opening, you asked me a little bit about my experience in the professional scene and how that really looks. And this is what professional broadcasts look like. And I mean, we talked about that analyst desk. We talked about this caster booth, if you call this a booth. This is what pro looks like. The stage as well.
I think I'd call it a caster, what's the word? Villa. Caster villa.
Villa.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Via? Isn't it Via? Isn't double L?
No.
Yeah?
No, it's Villa. There's a reason that you've heard it that way.
I may have failed my French test then, guys. It's okay.
That's an Italian word. Oh my gosh.
All right.
Excuse me. That was a lot for me. That was a lot for me. We ban Wrecking Ball. They will ban Vendetta.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I mean, you have a player like Azer who plays Vendetta so well. You just avoid it, right? And the Wrecking Ball ban from Syracuse is definitely a little bit targeted. You kind of just want to go into this match. You want to see what's going to happen. And you're going to basically say, let's just go for it. A simple 5-on-5, nothing crazy, no weird Wrecking Ball comps, no weird Vendetta. Let's just see what this is going to look like from just a raw skill, mechanical, fundamental perspective. That is where these teams are going to be. That is how this is going to be played for the rest of the matchup here, Carson.
Yeah, and you may notice we've got some serious new stuff here. So you'll see it throughout the day. We're very excited. But this is going to be – yeah, I mean, that's an immediate one right here. REI gets one immediately in the form of Azer. We're watching them up top. That Syracuse squad is in red, taking a top advantage position here as there's one more – and the Saint goes down as well as B-Dog.
Yeah, I mean, Carson, this is what we were talking about a little bit, is when you have this Utah team in at their full potential, things can get scary. And, I mean, just to briefly discuss this, Utah playing a very powerful dive composition with this D.Va. PDK is in on this Cassidy, a character he has been so well known to be good at here. Syracuse looking for a little bit more on this rush brawl style, and they're trying to counter out this Diva. That's what the Zarya does into this Diva here, but it's going to be interesting. Syracuse needs to find their value in, but PDK and Ray are going to be very powerful into this composition.
Yeah, PDK is playing and gets their first elimination on Azer. Colors have switched, by the way. Red there for the Utah side now, more I think, more accordingly, but when this fly came, it is indeed a bit different. PDK gets one more in the form of Saint. That's a good start immediately for this Utah squad, who needs to find a way to get momentum, and getting rid of healers will do just that. But Mac, a great right click there onto PDK, and the Orange will have kind of an advantage here. Without PDK, this Utah squad really struggles to support their tank, and you're seeing it there as No Sam goes down.
Yeah, I mean, this composition for Utah, they are very plain. There we go, Ryan. They're looking to play for the split. They're looking to sort of just throw themselves around, get the value they can, and see what they can find as a split team. They're still stalling this point as well as they finally switch it over. But this is what's going to be powerful with Utah, is they are going to be looking to split the composition, looking to split the enemy team, and then go from there, while Syracuse is looking to really hold themselves together and then look to win that fight and win those fights into this Utah squad. They need to play in a brawl. They need to close this space here, Carson.
Yeah, and the big thing you're going to see generally is how do you play that properly? And for the Orange, it's going to be targeted pushes. And the big thing you're seeing right now is targeted pushes. They're doing a good job getting rid of PDK when he is there, when he is by himself, but doing a good job to make sure they can't go somewhere together up top, and that's immediately what you're seeing. PDK doesn't go down, it gets Mac. I mean, that is the talent you are seeing on display. Saint, Mac, and Lunar all go down, as well as B-Dog. Utah has claimed the point. A fantastic job from the Utes.
Yeah, and you know, the Syracuse squad, what you want to look is you want to play on that right side, sort of downstairs in that area. That's where Syracuse wants to play, and Utah knows that. Utah, on the other hand, they're like, we're just going to play high ground because you can't contest us. The only one on Syracuse squad who can contest is Mac, maybe Saint a little bit, but in reality, it is just going to be Mac, and that's very difficult when you play into a Diva and into that Kiriko that are just sort of chilling up there on the high ground. Graviton Surge ready for Lunar, though, is going to be looking for it. The beat comes in early from Utah into the overclock. There's the Graviton Surge as well. They're able to find one Ruby Mac onto Sonic. Diva Bomb going to go in just for the reset on the mech. Not going to find anyone, though, but Syracuse down in members as B-Dog falls next here. It's going to be Utah looking to just win this fight. But once again, Utah, they're looking to just play this split. They're already at 99% here. Syracuse down, B-Dog down that Kiriko. Very dangerous. The Pulse Bomb going to be ready to come in as well here. Syracuse going to start to flip this point, but had to use all the ults to do so.
Got one there immediately with the Pulse Bomb from the side of Utah. Matt goes down. Overtime still pushing here. Gonna be forward with the Orange. Lunar leading the charge with support. Has to find a way to get rid of theirs. And a reload there might save their Lucio at will. A very good job. Didn't see him leave. Lunar didn't see the go up there. That is very good job by Sonic to get out. And again, Sonic escapability really keeping this Utah squad alive. PDK gets one more with the help, with B-Dog as helped by Teddy Ipa. But that is a tough start for the Orange.
Yeah, I mean, this Utah squad, they have a plan of attack and what they want to play. And like you said, right, Utah, they don't really play as much together as the Syracuse squad was doing. And this is perfectly sort of just describing what you just said, is you go in, right? If you're Syracuse, you go in, you try to play together, you play as 5. If you want to maybe split, you throw Mac and Saint together, Mac and Saint together. But it's very difficult to actually make that work on the side of Utah. However, they're like, we don't really care. We're just going to throw everyone around and go from there. Utah now switching over to this Brawl mirror. Will likely have Teddy and Azer both going back to Tracer accordingly, but this is going to be a good Brawl, and this is really big for Syracuse to win this fight. This is going to be very, very important for them for the rest of this series, because this comes down to fundamental gameplay, and there goes the kill! A great boot from Saint as they're going to find one.
A good start there. Their Zarya goes down, and you like to see leverage plays and big players come up in big play moments. That one will definitely go into the clip compilation to indie artist later in the month. But control point unlocks here in a few moments, and what you're noticing the Orange doing is just holding the choke point. Somebody will go capture a point. Lunar needs to keep this space to keep this Orange squad alive, but they do a really good job of going around it. Azer is able to get one, but 2 got for the Utah squad. Both supports down for the Orange, Mac as well, and it's only a matter of time once your supports go down to where you will go down. A good stagger there as they get 2 on the other end, but Lunar just got 1, not much there from the other end.
Yeah, and I mean, that's once again the strength of this Utah team, is They don't really care if they lose someone. They're going to play this the best they can in a split. That is how they want to play. That's what they're going to do to play it. And that's how they've been playing. That's how they've been succeeding so well against the Syracuse squad is they're looking to split them up, even though they're also on this more rush brawl composition. A's are going to be the first one to fall down to PDK there, and that's a really good pick for Syracuse to start getting themselves in. For Utah, excuse me. And this is once again just the power, but there goes Lunar off the edge. Sonic finds them sitting on the stairs for just a little too long, and that's going to be it again. Mac goes down, and now it's 35% for Utah. They're going to look to get it up. V-Dog goes down. And Syracuse, another fight lost against Utah. And these dry fights have been going so well for them this entire fight. It's going to be going in this next one here. And Syracuse only really has a rush and almost as Deadeye.
They did have to use some ults there. So the big thing is to notice Utah has that advantage. PDK and their Tracer as well going to be together with potentially 2 support ults. Mac moving forward, though, with that Deadeye. It won't get anyone. A lot of lost value there. Forward again. PDK kind of standing in that corner trying to isolate one, and nearly a loss for the Orange. But down goes PDK to V-Dog. A very good collaboration talk back there from the Orange as Lunarag able to get another one. Helping support, moving them forward and going again in Mac another one. Their Tracer goes down and the Orange move forward and finally get point back.
That was really well played from the Syracuse squad. I got scared. I saw PDK sitting there waiting for his victim of Azer, but Syracuse, they played back, they peeled really well, they were able to get PDK and immediately go into that fight. Here comes the Deadeye though, straight into it, Kitsune rush, but Lunar goes down immediately and follows by Mac as well here, Carson.
It's not a good start. The Orange will have really no answer now without a tank and the long-range support essentially there in your hit scan as REI gets rid of Azer, but able to collect one for the Orange. No, they've all gone down, no staggers there. They all respawn and don't even have ult advantage. Just a spectacular job. And oh my goodness, it's going to just be a blender at this point. Good response from Saint to use their last ult. Lunar will have charge in that time. Can they find a way to isolate them on the other end? Forward again, 94% here for this Utah squad. They've got to move forward. Saint able to get one though. Mac, another one in the form of Sonic. Great job there. Moving forward again. Mac's on fire. Another for the Chicago native. Almost the freshman, but he's a junior.
Yeah, the first year on the team, but yeah, freshman overall. Syracuse, one ultimate to their name. PDK switching over to Bastion here. Just going to look to sort of laser out this Lunar on this Zarya. Saint goes down, though. You cannot have players go down early against this Utah squad. On the flank is going to be PDK, and it's going to be another kill just like that. Syracuse, they're not going to be able to get back onto this point here, and Utah is going to be able to secure this. It's going to be a last-second contest from the side of Syracuse, but it's going to be difficult to get there. PDK finds Azer. Mac falls as well. PDK with the final, and that's the map win over to Utah. And absolutely beautifully well played from them, and they're going to go into this series 1-0, and this is what I was talking about, Carson. If this is a 4-map series and Utah ends up winning it, they win control, they'll likely win Flashpoint.
Yeah, and the big thing you wanted to see there from the Orange was more coordinated pushes. Utah did a very good job with less to make more. They had the ult advantage, and this is one of those moments where you see they did a fantastic job with just a Kiriko rush here specifically. Wow, that was a absurd Lucio play, by the way, but besides that, they did a very good job with less. They used one Kiriko rush, got mashed by one, and took out 2 main kind of keys or pillars of the Orange in that firefight. They change in every single match. Obviously, you want to change the rules up. All of competition is about giving your opponent a statistical set of rules and changing it, flipping it on its head whenever you can. And they did a fantastic job there. Met them with the same ults, didn't use any extra they needed to, and just outplayed the Orange kind of in those neutral grounds in your kind of transition game.
Yeah, exactly. And this Syracuse squad, we were talking about what makes them so powerful, and it's their team play. They know how to play as a unit of 5, and when you go into this fight, when you take a team like Utah who specializes in individual gameplay, they aim to just solo you out. That is literally their only goal. And it doesn't matter if they lose a player or not, because they're not really playing for the team fight. They're playing for the mechanical skill compared to the Syracuse squad, which is very fundamentally gifted as a team. And mechanically are kind of disgusting sometimes as that boop goes in. But this is what is going to be the biggest difference maker, like you said, Carson, right? Syracuse and Ohio State, very similar. They're both fundamental teams. They both play it against each other. But Syracuse and Utah is purely playing for the mechanic, purely playing to make Syracuse uncomfortable, and that's what they did. They were like, Syracuse, you like to play as 5? We're not going to let you do that.
Yeah, and when the Orange found their way to do the same thing, they did well themselves, but a lot of it was Syracuse doing the exact same thing, Utah doing it better. Whatever you can do, I can do better, if you will. But this Ute squad, it's important to remember that this Orange team did do a fantastic job when they had resources and without. This is not a lost cause in any way, and they know that. They know that that is a rough game. You're playing a top 10 team in the nation, and you really did fight. You really did do a good job. You won a team fight there. You held point for about 60% there. That was a winnable game, and that should help you going into this attack D next time, because once you capture payload, once you get on to payload, it's going to be a similar experience where when you get into those team fights, how do you respond to the resources and materials that you have? It's all really just econ.
Are you an econ major, Carson?
Absolutely not.
Okay, well, there goes my joke. Okay.
Ooh.
But, relating to the way that we're going to go into this next map, right, on hybrid, Utah has now played the brawl into Syracuse and shown them, we'll match you, but we are not going to match you the fundamental way that you're going to match us. And that is something to be aware of. But they showcased this dive a little bit. They showcased how they're going to play with this diva. They're going to play a little bit more unique, and they're going to, once again, let their players like PDK sort of just do whatever they want, and no one is going to be able to stop them. And that is the worry that you have against Utah is you need to collapse against them. You need to make them uncomfortable, because right now, Utah is making Syracuse uncomfortable. They are putting them in a position that is not making them feel great about their play style, about how their game plan is, because they know what the strength of Syracuse is. They know that the best thing for Syracuse is to play as 5, and even when you're on those splits, it's fine because there's an overall sort of collapse of a play. Utah knows that, and they're not even letting them get the chance to set up.
Yeah, and a lot of it kind of comes into what Syracuse is going to go on to next. And if you are a longtime viewer of Syracuse esports, this is a feel-good one. The relative Kings Row here, but there's some interesting bans, and PDK is the reason the Orange are banning Bastion, but a Zarya ban for Utah is very interesting, and it means one of two things. Actually, it's just Ram. It's always going to be Ram. But it does mean that you can counter Ram potentially with another hero.
Yeah, I mean, your options here is either a full-blown brawl. I mean, Ramatra and Cassidy are very, very strong together. The old meta used to be Ramatra, Cassidy, Lucio, Curie, and the Mei. Probably won't see Mei, but it works very well for Ramatra. The other thing, however, to consider is this now gives the rest of Utah the capability to play Diva, because now they can play the Diva without any worry of the Zarya, that complete beam character. And so we'll have to see what they do. Yep, and here comes the Diva, Genji, Widow, PDK. Whoa. On Widow.
Oh, it's 2016.
I was telling you, worry about the Widow.
Widow will be up top for PDK. He founded himself on there, but he'll switch, try and get a peek out of the window. The Orange on the defense initially. We're on board with Mac. They're fighting immediately. Have to wonder how this Orange squad is going to play with Vendetta, and that's going to be a big one. Can they isolate their healers on the other end? But they've isolated their own. Age are able to get one, though, and Loon are able to get the other. So there's no healers for anybody, as they entirely are just going to brawl to the death here. It's a bit of a Smash Brothers game at this point, and the Orange win. They will always win here with their Ramatra. It's going to be that situation generally. PDK able to get one in the form of Saint.
No way.
But the Orange are somehow going to get backed off of here. The support just came in time for Utah. A fantastic job, and kind of just a timing issue where the Orange weren't going to get supports in time. I mean, Utah was always going to win that if the Orange couldn't fast enough, but a good job in that other end. They'll delay a little bit, unfortunately, and the Orange will kind of stagger here.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse would have won that fight here, Carson. They let PDK get out at 0 HP. You know Utah has the spawn advantage. They get back fast, and they also are on dive characters. They're going to get on point. They got back. Syracuse did not contest the point at all, and now they're forced back. They can't even hold the archway, which is a really good hold on Kings Row. Now they're forced to hold the first corner, but Mac, a really good pick on PDK. They might be able to get back on the archway now.
Yeah, Mac able to get one on that mirror match of Sojourn you're going to have to wonder at a certain point what the Orange can do if they take space. And now they have gotten the gateway, so they are going to be able to take a moment here and try and push them out of the site. But PDK will be back soon. Actually, he already is. But again, we're talking about how Mac is going to have to diff them. And if not, Mac will go down. Sonic, a great boop there. But PDK does go down to Azer. A fantastic job. And Vendetta will be seeing the rest of the game. We will not be seeing, I don't think, any Azer off of Vendetta. And this is the reason. Just so much damage input out by Ram and Vendetta together. B-Dog goes down, but the Orange collect 2. The tank goes down in the other end. Saint Forward needs to find a way to heal their team once again. There is one on site. It's 2 healers, and the Orange have completely just left them alone. Lunar Saint Azer will go down to the other 3 remaining on the reinforcements as Sam able to now get their full ult in Utah. 4 on kinda 5 for the ults there. Syracuse will have them in the next team fight.
Yeah, I mean, Utah got probably 30, 40 meters for free. Syracuse went into the backline. They went to go after the supports, and Syracuse kind of just walked, and they let Utah just get free value. And now they're going to be able to pop these ultimates, the Blade into the Kitsune Rush. It's going to be very powerful. Syracuse pops 3. Utah's fine with this, and they're still living in this fight here, Carson. That's double support ult.
Yeah, they're doing a very good job stepping back, but here's this right click here from PDK, the insta-win, if you will, when you hit it right, and misses 3 times, gets 1 on the Saint, but again, misses. Not often you see that, too, from PDK, especially on those ults. No Sam able to get Lunar, who kind of got caught out in the wrong spot. Max able to get another one, but No Sam answers with the kill on Mac. Here comes that ult from Vendetta. The slash Ryan adjacent will be getting 1 in the form of Diva's mech, but not Diva herself. She'll have a minute to go. Mini, but this could be a lot of damage. Azer gets 1, but a lot more damage left on the table. As Saint goes down, they have to back off, and they will likely achieve point unless they can get here in time, and it's going to be dive for the Orange as Lunar now on Winston. Interesting pick here, but it could work out for the Orange. It's a very low health team they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, Utah, they played that so incredibly well, and Syracuse, they kind of feel a little lost right now, Carson. I mean, you're watching this Syracuse team play into Utah, and they're sort of forgetting what they're supposed to do on their composition. I mean, you take a look at the Brawl comp they were just on. They walked past the entirety of Utah and gave them free point. You now take a look at them contesting this point. They invested all 5 of their ultimates against Utah's 4. Basic says they should win that fight, but they don't. Utah doesn't even have to use the sound barrier to win that point. They just played it very smart. They played it fast, and they're not letting Syracuse reset, and Syracuse is kind of snowballing on the defensive side against Utah.
They've done enough damage on this defensive end as well to now basically have full ults as they've waited essentially for their team to come back, but they've still gotten space either way from it. They're going to switch on to a Genji here, which is interesting. I just don't think that's the right move. Basically, everybody on Syracuse counters you. Lunar gets another one in the form of PDK. No DPS line for Utah, but down and out, they've certainly found ways to escape and win. Sonic, the last one there, who was really had any chance of surviving, but they get rid of them. No Sam and REI go down, and the Orange basically have their first full team fight with 3 minutes. But let me note, this is where they figure it out typically on Kings Row. For some reason, this has been the spot previously in previous years where they have really held down and found a way to forge iron and really let the pressure make them diamonds at a certain point here.
Yeah, I mean, this hold for Syracuse has always been very, very good, but you cannot overinvest yourself like you did on that first point. That's why Utah won the first point so well, as you overinvested and overextended there. Syracuse going to drop 2 ultimates to win this fight here, and they will do so, but this is what I'm talking about, right? You don't want to give too much for free. You've now used 2 ultimates into Utah's 0, and they're going to have 4 coming out onto you now. Saint's sound barrier is really going to make or break this next fight, and if Utah can win this, they're going to be able to turn the corner, and it's going to be final fight territory here, Carson.
A lot of that ult to me is delay. They want to find a way to really push them off.
Oh,
Here comes that from Diva, but it should be pretty much everybody out of the way, other than Azer, who got run over by it. That's interesting. Lunar goes down as well, and the Orange are kind of left out to dry in certain spots because of that ult. A very good usage there, put in just the perfect spot. Lunar has to back out away from teammates to live that, and just can't fight on their own. Immediately into Blade, just nothing doing for that Utah squad, but they have a Kitsune rush. Forward again. They do a very good job at a well-timed bubble from Winston. They push forward. That Kiriko low. They get rid of that Kiriko. A very good job for the Orange, and that's what we're talking about. Winning despite the ults. They move out of the way. Well-timed, and the Orange fully have their way out, but Lunar goes down. Could be a death spell for the Orange if they don't do something here, but they have done a very good job. Now a Reaper switch for Teddy, who went off that Genji. That Genji did not get an elimination.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh my gosh, spaghetti meatball.
And that's what you want to see, right? I mean, Utah this time around sort of over-investing. They used 2 ultimates there they probably shouldn't have used, and Syracuse was able to come back around, and now they're back on the same defensive hold they had originally. But Teddy moving over to this Reaper, Lunar's going to need to be a lot more careful getting in. He's been getting in and getting out pretty well, but he's going to have to be very, very careful. Here comes the rush, though, Carson, to win this fight again.
We'll see what they can do, with what they have. Lunar able to throw a pulse bomb out, or Azer throwing the pulse bomb out. Doesn't get much other than the mech. That is a big get. Saint gets one more. REI gets B-Dog, though. And now kind of an even matchup. 1-on-3, 1 tank, 1 DPS, 1 support for each squad into that back end. They're fighting in this corner. Saint just trying to heal his team from a distance, but nobody near him. Azer backing off once again, but the tank is back for the Orange. 40 seconds remain. They need to find a way to win this team fight and win it now. This could be final fight unless they back off, and they will. Smart move by Utah as the Utes push forward again. 30 seconds remain. They will make this final fight. Here comes that ult. Mac able to get a big pick. Lunar another. Mac with 2. The brace for the Chicago native. He will collect. 20 seconds remain. Forward again. Lunar getting rid of the mech. And that could be final fight. Utah has to scrounge something together. They do have an ult if Diva can get there back in time, but it may just not be enough. Have to use an ult here if you're Lunar to delay.
Yeah, I mean, this is really good from Syracuse now. They're going to force out the Primal, but PDK finds 1, Carson.
1 more for PDK in the other end, but Lunar chases him down. It's overtime, 1 on. It's that Reaper, but they've kind of extended their ideas here. They're letting them get some space, but the Orange have the resources to get rid of them. As Azer throws that pulse bomb out, they try and ult into that corner with Reaper. He does get 1, but Lunar is there, and not much getting away from Lunar in this corner on that Primal. Away has to go to Lucio. They force them off once again. Overtime expiring. Throws it down. Always at the end, but Sojun gets there in time. Mac with 2 again in the final fight. PDK and No Sam go down. Lunar, a haymaker on REI in the Orange hold, preventing a 3-0 start for Utah. We've still got offense to go for the Orange.
Yeah, and this is good for Syracuse, right? They can get themselves going into this fight and get themselves back to normal, right? So very good for Syracuse here. Utah, they sort of started to struggle a little bit into that 3rd point. Syracuse was able to start to rotate those ults better. They were watching their overextensions a little bit more. They were able to get themselves back, and they were able to play that fight. 2nd point for Syracuse was, I mean, 2nd point and 1st point, there were some definite blunders that worried me for this Syracuse squad. They looked, frankly, very messy in those first 2 points, but they were able to get themselves back over to 2nd point, and that's what you want to see, right? You wanted, or sorry, 3rd point, Syracuse finding their way back in. Utah did switch over that Reaper, trying to counter out Lunar on that Winston, but it just wasn't quite enough. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what Syracuse is going to look to do. They might stick to this Winston, which I don't fully mind, right? You can really get on that back line. You force PDK in a more uncomfortable position, and the Utah support line has to really invest into their Diva to keep themselves sort of afloat in those fights.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to how the Orange play it together as a team, and they've done a fantastic job supporting each other, playing well when times get tough, essentially. They have to find a way to get value everywhere they can. They know PDK is going to be a difficult one to deal with, but he's been human, and there are times where he is not, but he has been human. As interesting hold here. It's going to be a backside hold for Utah as they get back up to that top range, trying to basically prevent Winston from getting a lot of value, but Winston can get value at range, and that's what you're seeing. Diva immediately forced to go back. Orange gets space. Now they're in a more open area, which benefits their team comp a little bit more. Azer forced into the corner. Genji there. No vendetta for the Orange on this offensive side because not too valuable with how much space they can take with Genji, and that's what they're hoping for there. Sam and Sonic collectively, they get Lunar, B-Dog, and Mac as REI gets them. A good Kiriko job there, and the Orange have a fantastic push really taken away from them just by Utah separating them and picking them off. They do a great job.
Yeah, I mean, this Utah team, with how these 2 dives are working out, right, Utah knows they don't have to play into the brawl, right? They don't have to go directly into this Syracuse squad. They're just going to say, you know what, fine. Come on point, invest all your util to dive onto us, and then we're going to wait. We're going to chill, and we're going to take that fight, and that's what Utah did. It was so perfectly well done. Syracuse, though, finding an early pick. This is exactly what they need to get into this next fight. The Diva falls low here, but isn't going to get taken out yet. Syracuse, they can start to push forward just a little bit more. They can get themselves back onto this point here. And now Syracuse in a really good spot, but Mac falls low. Mac goes down to Sonic, but here comes the D-Mech coming out from the D.Va. Great job for Syracuse now, but Lunar needs to stay alive. Half HP, gets themselves back up. Azer a little low as well here. PDK low going in, but Lunar just barely survives.
Orange do a great job putting themselves back together here in the very end. PDK going down is huge there. Sonic as well. No support right now fully. They jump out. Lunar able to avoid one. Saint and Azer collect 2 more. And the Orange are rolling. There goes REI. There goes Teddy. Can the last one D.Va go down? And yes. Yes, they will. They are basically trying to keep D.Va alive as long as possible, to stagger as hard as possible. And the Orange will have a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah. What a stagger coming out from Syracuse as well to kill that D.Va late into the fight. And Ray goes down with that Kiriko. And there goes Saint and the rest of Syracuse. They're cleaning up these picks. They want to make sure that they can get as much value as Utah did on that first point capture here. And very good job from Syracuse. And once again, it comes down to don't put yourself in a position where Utah can overextend onto you, where they can split your composition up. Teddy going back over to the Reaper, trying to counter out this Lunar. Syracuse is a little interesting, right? On this Winston comp, Utah doesn't fully know what they want to do against it, but here comes the next engage against this Syracuse team.
Immediately there, what you're seeing is a fantastic job by Utah to stall. But interesting here, they're going to start a push-off with an entire Lucio ult. One more forward there, as one more primal as well, used up by Lunar. It's going to buy them a lot of space, but not a lot of damage or elimination. to Kiriko rush right at the end. Could do some serious damage. No Sam boosters. Mac away, runs them the heck over. And another one again there. The Orange, interesting push there, but this could still work out. Forward again, trying to find a way. A lot of low health. B-Dog able to get one. D.Va's mech goes down. D.Va goes down. B-Dog's on fire. Support. He is supporting. Lunar, a punch on REI, forward again. Saint goes down in the chaos, so only one healer for the Orange, but the same goes for Utah, and they do a very good job of not overextending. I thought it was going to happen as soon as I saw Lunar have a full jump, and Mac is playing Sombra.
Yeah, I think that was just for last second stall, right? You want to get yourself on a point, you want to take this fight, and you want to win this. Mac will likely switch after they cap this point here. But Utah, they're not going to give this one up. They're back on point. PDK finds one early here, Carson, and the D.Va not going to be demeched.
Immediately, Mac goes down. Will likely maybe be a switch. I'm not sure we're going to see Sombra too long, and we will see it for longer. PDK able to get Lunar as well, as the Orange kind of falling apart here. They're getting picked apart and taken apart. A very good job there, but not yet touching checkpoints, so keep that in mind. 1.4 meters, Azer and B-Dog, the last two to go down. No real stagger, and Utah will have the ability to take themselves back for a moment, as they're going to go walk up to this archway now and really try and get this done. Yeah,
one of the things, if you're Syracuse, that you need to be super aware of is Utah does not care about sort of being patient in fights. Syracuse is like, oh, we're going to win point. We're cool, GG, go next. Utah is going to take that fight. They know that if they have a chance, they are going to take advantage, especially on a composition with a D.Va and a Kiriko. They're going to go full rain. Azer's going to go wide with the pulse.
I do not know if I like that usage there, but what it does do is force them to back off, and either way, Azer's going to get rid of the Kiriko. No Sam getting Mac, though. That could be bad. Here comes that ult from D.Va immediately up top. Self-destruct does not get anybody. Azer going to chase after it, trying to PDK. Low health, but having to back off now. Essentially has been isolated in their own corner, trying to keep themselves alive. Lucio will do it for them. They'll respond with their own pulse. One more again, and they just can't live. PDK's outputting too much damage, and immediately into a Kiriko rush as well. No Sam backs off up top. Reaper still with them. 1:15 for the Orange to reach the checkpoint. And as this team fight ends, PDK gets one more. Another for PDK onto Saint. Sam gets Mac, and Sonic gets Azer. The Orange, with a minute left, have to go essentially into final fight territory if they want to win this one.
Yeah, and I mean, Utah, some beautiful patience coming out from that support line. B-Dog used that Kiriko ult, which means they don't have any support ultimates into Utah's Death Blossom Kiriko rush. This is what we like to call the Beyblade here, Carson. It is going to be deadly against Syracuse. They only have Primal Rage. They're going to have a late overclock coming in from Mac, but it's going to be dangerous. They need to find an early pick, ideally on a PDK if they want to win this fight. Forcing out Wraith early is great for them, though. We're in final fight territory, 33 seconds.
Kiriko rush will come out for the side of that one. If PDK goes down, that's a big loss of value. Into the other end, they try and get rid of it. There goes the Lucio. That could be a big one. Mac goes down, though, in the chaos, so no no hit scan DPS, either way. Lunar able to get rid of Sonic, and then after that, it's D.Va who goes down after that mech. They push forward together as a team. That's a full team fight win. One waiting, Reaper looking to get rid of it, goes towards point, but this isn't 2016 anymore, man. You can't kill an entire team with an ult, and he knows it. Teddy goes down. They have it at the last moment. 2 meters remain. 1, it's contested. We're in overtime. The Orange have to get this to go on. D.Va, they're on site. Might have a late ult here, but the Orange just have Mac and nothing else. Self-destruct from D.Va. B-Dog gets rid of that D.Va, so no free mech. Back on the other end. REI able to get Azer, though. Forward again. Mac trying to do as much damage as they can. REI nearly goes down. They do go down. Saint does as well, but so does PDK. Orange find themselves back on the point. Reaper again on site. Does not have that ult anymore as Mac got rid of PDK. So a lot of damage coming from this Reaper, and they go down. It's just a Lucio versus the world, but there's one back already. They have their Doomfist on point right now. Sonic able to goes down, as B-Dog goes down as well, but the Orange have finally maintained a checkpoint. But we are still in tense situations. 1 minute 20 seconds remain, and I cannot imagine no Sam is staying on Doomfist.
No, and this is what I was telling you, Carson. Utah doesn't care if you think you're going to win the point. They are going to invest everything, and they forced out every ult from Syracuse in that fight. I mean, that was just beautiful, and they built 2 of their support ults on the other side. Like, Utah did this so well, and they're ready for this next fight. Trades on either side.
That's big there, but I think the Orange can technically win that. Sonic goes down, which is a big loss of heals, so they'll go forward into this one. Keep in mind the Orange only have to go as far as Utah did, 0.01 meter further. PDK gets rid of Lunar, 50 seconds remain, and the Orange do a very good job of backing off. If you've seen the video on YouTube, why do we push the cart in Overwatch? I think that has gotten really popular, and you're seeing it here, and Utah embodies that kind of play style of the only reason they push the cart is because we are there. PDK gets rid of Mac, and that, in final fight territory, could be a death blow. Mac will be able to come back in that time, but it'll be interesting to see, can they find a way without Mac right now to get onto point. 20 seconds remain. Orange are basically playing with final fight. No, it's going to be the end here. A's are going to be the first one on, likely. As 14 seconds remain, Orange have to go forward now.
Also, 4 ultimates from Utah is going to be scary. Mac with the overclock, the only one here. There goes Death Blossom, or excuse me, there goes the beat and the overclock. Saint goes down, and there goes Lunar. It's a team fight win for Utah. It's going to be everyone falling. Azer tries to live, but it's not going to be enough. Utah going to be able to win that fight, win that round. 2-0 for this Utah squad now, and they're looking to sweep this one out. I mean, it was so well played from Utah on that second point. They had so much time that Syracuse had to cap it. They just sort of threw everything they could. They were like, force out ultimates, force out everything they can. And then it came down to that last fight. They had 2 support ults to Syracuse's 0, and they just kind of won the fight.
Yeah, and the big thing there, I mean, you're hoping, if you're the Orange, you're really hoping that it goes a little better there on that end. But they did a very good job with what they had. They know when they got to use their utility, when they have to use their resources, and the Utes do. That's what happened. And that's going to be it, unfortunately, for the Orange for that map. Down 2-0. Can they find a way on push? Kind of depends.
Yeah.
How do they attack this next one? I'd like to see more Vendetta as the big thing, because Azer plays Vendetta very well, and I don't think they realized how well it was working towards the end there.
Yeah.
Had a few moments that they were not able to really convert in the offensive zone, if you will. We're not playing a sport, but there are offensive and defensive zones in Overwatch. They did a fantastic job of taking space when they could, but they had moments as well where they were just completely inept at taking that space, but it came in waves for the Orange. They did a very good job together when they played together, but when they got isolated, when Utah found a way to break through their lines, there was nothing they could do. And, I mean, that's what you talk about with a team like this. They are so good when it comes down to the stretch because they are intelligent, and they know where you are.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Now you look into this next composition, right? If you're Syracuse, you're going on push. I think if you really want to here, you ban the D.Va. The Vendetta can't be banned. The Zarya can't be banned. Play the Zarya, play the Vendetta, ban the D.Va. I think that is probably Syracuse's best option here. I mean, sure, we've seen Utah play the Zarya, but you want to give Azer the ability to play that Vendetta, to really get into that backline and force out Ray and Sonic from really being able to do anything. And then you give Mac a lot of free space to work with, right? If you have the Vendetta, you have Azer in that backline, then Mac gets free reign to shoot down the main choke, and then you get that PDK-Mac duel that we've talked so much about, which, if you look at this, they are really even at the moment. Mac and PDK are really even in what they're doing, but it's purely a matter of Utah is giving PDK so much more to work with than Syracuse is giving Mac.
Yeah, and the big thing you're also noticing there is, can the Orange find a way to get more value in their comp? Obviously, that Winston comp is going to help at the end.
I like the Winston.
I think probably my dream comp next time is going to be Kirika Lucio together with a Winston, a Vendetta, and a Sojourn on Mac. Because I think Mac is a better Sojourn right now. PDK isn't playing well necessarily. They haven't been putting out enough damage to really change the tide of war, if you will. And to be honest with you, I can tell you one guy who has. It's the Orange hit scan, Mac. Yeah. He's been the key to this game and the reason the Orange are in this. But, I mean, obviously you're going to see him next year, and one thing you wonder is how will that guy develop? But at a certain point, this guy's fully developed, and you're seeing it right there. He's a fantastic player. He does a very good job with this team, and the Orange need to build kind of in that way right now in terms of their team comp here.
Yeah, and I think another thing to consider as well is you're probably going to go to Esperanza next, maybe Runasapi, but most likely you're going to be going to Esperanza if you are Syracuse. And so, banning out that dive tank on D.Va is probably still your best decision. That way you can also still run that Winston, right, if you really want to. I think another thing that I really want to see is Syracuse double ulted so many times. It was brutal to see when they were on that attacking side and they were just over-investing, and Utah kind of just sat there and were like, fine, ult us. We really don't care. We're still going to contest. We're still going to force out cooldowns. That's what happened near the very end there. They forced out everything they could from Syracuse. They lost the fight, and then Utah had a sound barrier online. They almost had a Kitsune rush online. Syracuse had nothing. They weren't close to really anything, and it was so perfectly executed from Utah because of the overusage coming out from Syracuse. And I think that's one of the big things that's going to really make a difference going into this next push map is not over-investing on these ultimates, not overextending on your engages. Take what you've been given and do not look for more. Utah will punish you as they did on Kings Row.
Yeah, it's about taking what you're given, and double ults can work.
They can.
It's kind of a thing the Orange are intentionally doing. That is intentional. When they do when they put together a Lucio ult with a Winston ult, that is intentional. Because they are trying to put down essentially a way where they can just go forward and not stop going forward. Yeah. And at a certain point, it works. But they have to find a way together to really genuinely just play together, take a moment to calm down, and realize that we don't need to have that infinite rush. You don't need to take as much space if you can take the other team. Because part of offense in Overwatch is about being able to take space. Yeah. It's not about taking space itself sometimes. It is about the ability to get rid of the people who are preventing you from taking that space. And it's a math equation, and if you can't just keep adding numbers. You are basically trying to play sums against division there.
Yeah. I mean, when I said double, I meant more so the supports. That's sort of more so what I meant is that was sort of the worry, because you would see a lot of times it was one ult used from Utah and like one Lucio ult late compared to the Lucio and the Kiriko rush used from Syracuse. That's more so what worries me, because I like the combos. I like the aggression coming out from Syracuse, like you said, using that Lucio and that Winston, getting themselves forward, sort of just full rushing. But it's when you are overusing sort of those ultimates that are really your win cons into Utah, who are kind of like, we're backing, we're taking all of our mobility to leave, take your free 10 meters, we're going to re-engage with an ult, and we're just going to win the fight, and we're going to take those 10 meters back. Yeah,
this Orange squad is very talented, and it's something that they need to tell themselves. It's like, yeah, guys, this is just one of the teams that might win the national championship, and, we're doing a really good job against them. You can't get down and out against this.
No, absolutely not.
This is a team you're going to play a long time. You're going to play them in April. You're hopefully going to play them again at the end of April in Waco after Las Vegas. We have CECC stuff soon, so I'm very excited to see those matchups going down.
Including this weekend.
A lot of interesting games headed up on the scheduled ticket. I don't know if we're allowed to say any of that yet, but there are CECC East qualifiers this weekend.
This is true.
Check out where they are being streamed. Either way, Syracuse doing a very good job on that Overwatch side. I believe they're playing in this tournament this weekend.
I am almost positive.
I would have to guess, considering we are in the CECC East and we are not qualified, we are probably participating in the qualifier. I hope to see them in the grand final is all I'm saying, but we'll have to see. And an interesting pick here.
Yeah, Runasapi. That's going to be the map pick for the side of Syracuse here. So like I was talking about, right? Esperanza or Runasapi, those were likely going to be the map picks coming out from this team. And that's because, you know, it's something that they're comfortable on, and it's a lot of long angles. Now, one of the strengths with this long angle is we talked about PDK on this hit scan. This is where Mac and PDK are really going to shine. This is just literally 2 very long lanes of high ground to low ground, and you just shoot. That is all it is. It is going to be hit scan versus hit scan, and we saw how much space that Utah was making for PDK to do things. If Syracuse does that, Syracuse will take this map, but they need, and I'm telling you, Carson, they need to give the space to Mac. If not, this entire map is going to go to the place of Utah.
Yeah, it is essentially here you're playing King of the Hill and you're playing payload, but this time you're playing it with your hit scan. The big thing that you want to do is find a way to play offense generally together, and that's the big thing. Mac, interestingly, going to be a different pick. I'm curious about that Sojourn. I'm not sure I like that Sojourn pick from PDK, especially on this map. You want direct damage, and you want now damage, if that makes sense. These are going to be on this. Vendetta immediately goes in, going to back off instantly, but a very good read by Utah there. I'm not even sure they meant to hit a few of those headshots. REI gets rid of Azer. Orange are back again. They have to recuperate, and a very good job from Utah.
Yeah, and, you know, those bans, right, it was a Tracer and it was a D.Va ban coming out from Syracuse, so sort of what we expected, right? Seeing that D.Va, forcing Utah into more of a mirror, but I like this change from Utah. They're playing the Venture. They know Syracuse wants to play Azer on this Vendetta, and now they're going to play this Venture. They're going to be like, fine, engage on our backline, but you're going to have to fight a drill.
Yeah, Vendetta is a difficult job right here for the Orange. Really, really interesting to see. Going to be all on Mac to kind of realize when's that going down and how Mac can counter it. But the Orange will back up here. They've given Utah 33 meters. Keep in mind, this is over if they don't get this one. And this is why I like the Cassidy pick over Sojourn. PDK just doesn't have the distance against Cassidy in that situation. Chasing down the Venture. Azer does a very good job isolating. Saint and Lunar do a great job as well. And B-Dog gets rid of Sonic. Crisp, and you might be able to hear them celebrating behind us. That is a very good team win for the Orange. They'll put the payload essentially into motion, and with 33 meters, they will find a way, finally, to try and beat this Utah squad, and it's going to all, right now, be about giving the space to your hit scan Mac.
Yeah, I mean, whoever can turn this corner first, Carson, will likely win this map. I mean, it's that simple. It's how Runasapi works. Mac on Cassidy, PDK on Sojourn. I want to mention Teddy switching over this Echo here is something to keep in mind, but it is going to be crucial. I mean, you saw how powerful Mac was able to win those fights when he was just sitting on that long lane. Forces the Deadeye. They're going to look to try to get this corner, and PDK is sniped.
Get out of his line of sight. Mac one more. Gets the revolver sling. Vendetta forward. It's a lot of value either way. The Orange might still be able to profit despite Azer dying, and immediately you're seeing it there. REI not able to recover, and Mac gets rid of them. As an Echo pick coming out for Utah off of Venture 2 for Sam. Laser is fully charged. Lunar able to get another, and that is what we're talking about with good support ults. Kitsune Rush saves the Orange there, gets them a forward spawn, and they'll back off. They've got a 22-meter lead, onto this Utah squad, and the Utes have to push themselves back up together. And with a forward spawn, this fight will happen earlier here right in this tunnel.
Yeah, and this is what you want to see from Syracuse. Very good job from them. The Echo's going to put a little bit more pressure on Lunar, but Lunar has really good bubble management. Azer in the sky just barely survives it, though. And this is going to be Utah now looking to ult early, and there's the surge.
They're going to do it the same, though. Lunar replies, and Zarya doesn't have enough health. PDK gets rid of Mac, though. That's now 2-1 Mac. PDK gets their first kill on this map onto their Cassidy. Oh, very good grab. Did Sojourn just go off the map? Maybe. Yep, Sojourn just flew off the map by themselves. No, Saint was there. Saint a second move. My goodness, Azer another one in the form of REI, and the Orange are rolling. Goodness gracious, you love to see a Lucio with a lethal right click, and Saint's got it.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about here, Carson, is if you can get it down this lane and around the corner, you've almost guaranteed yourself this map. Utah has to get it back up the hill and then curve it back around. With that forward spawn, it's so powerful for Syracuse to bring themselves back in this fight. Utah knows it, and now they're on the back burner, but PDK finds a great early pick onto Saint into a sound barrier for themselves.
PDK has to back off earlier. B-Dog goes down, but Azer gets one with the ult. It's Sonic, but Azer goes down as well, and the Orange have lost the team fight. Mac knows better, backs off. Might not have the space, we'll see if they will, but the Orange still maintain forward spawn, and they will have the ability to essentially fight this again in that same corridor, and this is exactly what the Orange want. Every time they push, they want to find 20 or so meters, but Utah's got a good counter right here. They're going to get there before the Orange can lock in a forward spawn technically. They'll hit it, and Utah will have a very finally kind of advantage towards their side. They push forward. Down now, just under 50 meters, and they have to find a way to push this one further.
Yeah, and we're going to see the copy come out onto the Zarya here, and it's going to be crucial if they can find it, but they're going to be taken down entirely here. And here comes the Deadeye. Utah getting some free value on the cart. They're going to get it down to that corner, but now it's a full map rotate from Syracuse. This could be really good from them as Ray goes down. Teddy switches to the Bastion.
Just a fantastic job. Utah doesn't turn around in time, and this is a team fight win for the Orange. Matt gets 2. Goodness gracious. The Ranger with the big iron on his hip is doing a very good job right now. He gets rid of 2 healers as well. Azer goes down. PDK is essentially goes down to Saint and is avenged. The captain is, excuse me, I don't know why that was coming out that way. 30 meters now for the Orange. They have their lead. They got 10 to Utah, but they're going to collect forward spawn here without a contest.
Yeah, and Teddy now switching to mirror this entirely, or not entirely, but almost entirely here. Going to be on the Vendetta themselves. So now B-Dog and Saint going to be in a little bit of a scary spot as they're going to need to be aware of this Vendetta into the backline. Syracuse need to play a little bit more on that peel because that Vendetta is going to be very, very dangerous in the backline. Here comes PDK with the overclock.
And a very good job from the Orange. They're spacing out their ults together. Whether it works or not, it's exactly what you want. Right at the end of the Kiriko rush, now they can combine the ults, put it together. They get the best of both worlds here. Forward has forced PDK off site and has barely hit them. They go off once again. B-Dog able to get 2. And that entire fight you just watched, you were watching a very rough one there for the Orange. And B-Dog nearly solos the entire team, but Mac had gone down early, and that's not what they were hoping for. They will have that in time. And goodness gracious, I do not know how PDK lived that.
Nope,
oh,
I got
the
nothing.
dodge. The dodge.
No, she slid.
Yeah,
she slid
under.
on
That's
a
what I mean.
rock
She slid
right
under
outside
it,
the
yeah.
spawn, came back up, and was able to find, I mean, ew. There's a reason PDK is like, there's a reason PDK is a tier 1 player. It's that simple. But
Yeah.
there goes Lunar down from the Vendetta, but a good trade comes out.
Azer goes down to PDK. B-Dog able to get 1. B-Dog is genuinely playing DPS right now. Sonic goes down. REI another. B-Dog goes down as Matt goes down as well. Saint together in another team fight win for Utah. They finally built some momentum. The Utes have some kind of downhill momentum, and they know a lot about that in Salt Lake City. They go skiing a lot. And out in Utah right now, it is a lot warmer in terms of outlook.
Yeah, and it's a lot warmer for Utah now as they're going to get themselves the forward spawn. I mean, this Vendetta is just crucial. Like I said, you know, Syracuse has been doing a really good job at, you know, playing into Utah, but they started peeling for the Vendetta, and now they have to do the same thing, and Syracuse needs to adapt to that. Mac finds a really good pick early on, though, but here comes Teddy.
Yeah, right there with that Lucio ult, they're going to basically iron out the Orange backline, and they do just that, but the entire Utah front line went down almost. Lucio goes down, full charge Lunar, glass cannon, 40 health remaining. Full ult for Azer, gonna back up, gonna get 1! Goodness gracious, goodbye Teddy. And another for Azer, trifecta for the captain, and the Orange have completely swung their momentum the other way.
Yeah, 14-meter advantage for Syracuse. They're going to look to make it even further. B-Dog has that Kitsune rush online. Syracuse, very good job here. Like I said, it comes down to the adaptation of making sure that Vendetta does not kill your backline. And B-Dog and Saint, the DPS players on support, have been doing a really good job of keeping themselves alive here. It's going to be crucial. PDK falls low, but get themselves back up. An early overclock could be seen from the side of Utah, but B-Dog's going to go first.
Very good job there from Azer. A lot of damage forced out. Lunar, Mac collect 2. It's going to be the tank and the DPS, Teddy and Sam. Lunar forward again, taking this space. Watch how much they're able to get without a tank on field. They basically have free reign to push this, and you only need 1. This could be a big win for the Orange, looking to force a game 4, as they might just be able to. They need to find a way to put themselves back together. 106 meters now. They've got over 47, 48, excuse me, on this Utah squad as they collect themselves back together. Space taken by Utah, but the Orange are doing a good job isolating. That's exactly where they're trying to be. They find one with the Graviton Surge. Azer gets rid of Teddy, and a great job from the Orange. Now they're forced to back off. Low health everywhere on that Utah side. Great work by the supports to keep as many up as they could, but it's just too much damage from Syracuse. B-Dog gets 2 more. Sam and REI. And goodness gracious, the Orange have been doing excellent on this offensive end. A total tide turner right there at mid, and they've been hot ever since.
Yeah, and they're going to keep the pressure on. They want to full cap this here, and we talk about how powerful this can be. If Syracuse can do it, they're going to be just sort of scrounging to contest this last second here, Carson, and it's going to be Utah doing anything they can to win this here. Azer still looking alive, but it's going to be Utah finding good picks. Syracuse just needs to back off or die and reset. but this is going to be difficult for Utah to bring themselves back in. Basically, they have to win. I mean, they have to win 3 more fights total. Actually, no, 1, 2, 3, probably 4 more fights total here, Carson, maybe 5 to win this. 30 seconds left. This has to be perfect for Utah to bring themselves back, but Syracuse in a very good spot. We talked about how good it is to snowball on this map, or on push in general. And now Utah, they're on the back burner here, and they're looking to bring themselves into this series once more.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not exactly great, but they graviton surge the orange kind of onto the point, and that's, oh my goodness! Gracious carnage! Lunar Nazer Saint go down. Mac able to collect one more, but B-Dog loses the trade to their Kiriko. Teddy gets rid of the last one in form of Mac. Yeah, I mean, I'm not upset too much with that if I'm the orange. Unfortunately, I did just get kind of, I mean, you just got Luigi 0 to 100. Shout out to our Smash team. They've been doing well lately. But, yeah, not great. Overtime still here. They'll have forward spawn. Kind of matters. Might matter if you're trying to figure one out together. But the lack of D.Va is going to be really interesting to see here. And that's kind of just the ability to cover space and see what they can do. REI gets rid of Azer early. A lot of damage coming out from both sides. There's Zarya nearly goes down. The orange is just shooting through the bubble at this point, and it will work. Sam goes down to B-Dog, who's been on fire at this support position. Sonic gets rid of Mac once more, and again, they push forward. Orange in overtime have to find a way to keep themselves survivable, but Teddy gets rid of Lunar, and Saint goes down to PDK. That's 2 of what is essentially 4 needed for Utah in terms of team fights. They're doing a good job, and the Utes have an opportunity here.
They do, Carson. The biggest thing is it comes down to Utah cannot use more than 1 ult per fight to win these. They had 2 ultimates to start. They have 2 ultimates remaining. They have 4 fights to win. This is perfect performance from Utah if they can win this, but Syracuse, they can't overinvest. They can't get greedy. They can win this very well. They have the ultimate to do so, but here comes a trade, but B-Dog finds 2.
Goodness gracious, this support backline is putting in work. REI and Sonic go down. PDK and Sam, though, get Mac and B-Dog. Mac gets rid of Teddy. A really interesting situation. It's a 2-on-2. Can they find a way? Wrecking Ball the only one there with PDK. No healers in sight. The Orange are just trying to keep them off, and that's what they're doing. Saint 1v1ing the best support in Collegiate. Was it enough, though? Couldn't they keep them off in time? Supports are back for the Orange. Other way, PDK goes down. There's nobody there but the Lucio. Lucio down, Lunar. Gets rid of them. 2 more on the other side. No heals anywhere. Matt gets rid of REI. The last one goes down, and the Orange collect game 3. They force game 4. Goodness gracious, Ryan. Whew.
That got a little scary there, Carson, but Syracuse able to clean up those kills and find themselves game number 3. We talk about momentum. Yeah, I'm not surprised that Saint got that.
Yeah, this is going to be, I think this is the opener.
This is the boop kill, probably. Yep. Yep. Boop kills count as 2 in the play of the game. 2.
There it is.
There it is.
It's the tower play.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This is what we were talking about, right? Syracuse, they win that push map, right? This is where momentum starts to sort of go in your favor, right? It snowballs into the next map. You feel great about that win. You feel great about push, right? Now you move into that next map, right, where you can continue to bring that into your favor. You continue to bring yourselves into a victory with that momentum. It's not over yet, right? This is where things can get dangerous. Now, I told you here, Carson, at the start of the broadcast, if Utah wins, it'll be a 3-1 victory. If Syracuse wins, it'll be a 3-2 victory.
Yeah, I mean, now that is the situation.
It's the only situation.
Well, no, they can. Utah can still win in 5, buddy.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
this is
total. Once you go to game 5,
no, Syracuse wins game 5.
Your team doesn't just win in game 5. Trust me, I've been there before.
No, Syracuse wins game 5. They're a game 5 team. They always win game 5.
I think that's fair. They've played a lot. This is a weird thing for the Orange in terms of sweeps. If you were here last year, you would know. We did not play a single game that the other team did not win a round on the entire season. Whether it was Boise State or, no offense to Nebraska, it was those kind of teams. They weren't there last year, but they struggled again. And you're seeing stuff like that. But this Orange squad, let's dive into how they won this one. And a lot of it came early and just getting an upper hand immediately.
Yeah, I mean, this is Syracuse. They played with this Vendetta. We talked about this, right? You want to play the Vendetta. You want to play the Zarya. This is what you want to do, right? You wanted to see Syracuse really take advantage of that specifically and of that Vendetta. They're able to do so. They even forced Utah onto that Vendetta mirror, and they felt a little uncomfortable, right? Now, we did see Teddy do a really, really good job. That is something to keep in mind, right? But it took them a while to adapt to it. And it took Syracuse, it took them a second to sort of start to get their support line a little bit more peeled and play a little bit more safe into that Vendetta. But it gave them such a far advantage, and that's the thing with push. You have such a far advantage, it's so hard to win that. Utah, They almost won this, and it's because they are a very good team. They were forced into a disadvantageous position. They had to play one ult per fight to win the game. This was scary. When Saint was 1v1 in PDK, it was a little scary. But Utah was almost able to win it, but this is what we're talking about on push. When you would get rewarded for being good, and Syracuse was just so much better on that map, they ended up winning the fight, they ended up winning the game, even though Utah had to play to perfection to win that, and they didn't, right? And Syracuse was able to win that, and now they have that momentum going into Flashpoint.
Yeah, and you talk about needing to use one ult at the fight. That was a scary moment with Saint, but what you realize during that is that PDK is not on point doing damage to the 3 people who are coming back, and that was a big thing. Saint bought the time this team needed to essentially recuperate and put themselves together. Lunar got an absurd amount of charge right there from that wrecking ball because he had to pop bubble there. There was nothing else he could do. He was alone. It was alone with his Zarya. You could wait. You really could wait, but you know that there's more coming and you have to get rid of the Zarya right now. That was the idea, and all it did was really lose them the game. Not a great decision from Utah, but keep in mind, this is still not over. Ryan, I want you to break down now Flashpoint because this is going to be horrifying.
Yeah.
The Orange fairly did do a good job on control, but Flashpoint is a whole nother animal and could go really either way.
Yeah, and so the reason I keep saying this, Carson, is because I'm aiming to cast or curse this. Okay?
Okay.
So Utah won game 1
I mean, this is a
on control, right? They won game 1. It was
Hello. Jackson Phillips from Orland, Pennsylvania, the international relations sophomore. He's really excited to be on camera.
He's a great guy.
It's his first time. It's his first time being on camera.
He's a great guy.
Ever.
We love Saint.
Yeah,
Saint's a great guy.
If you ever see the Shine Space and you see him, the guy
that's the guy who walks behind us.
Yeah,
yes.
that's the guy.
Yeah.
That's him. He's done a very good job, and we talk about how important that role has been and how big taking a fight against PDK really was.
Yeah.
Because it bought them time, and you know what? I mean,
that's what
you'll have a fall guy, and that's unfortunately what he was in that situation. So we'll see just kind of how this team plays, but more on to Flashpoint, less on Jackson now.
So at the start of the broadcast, I said the team that's going to win control will likely win Flashpoint. And the reason I said that is because the way Flashpoint works is you literally just play a bunch of control points in ×2 speed. So there are 3 – I lied. There are 6 control points in the
I genuinely just held up an 8, by the way. Like, I genuinely went – I can't let that go fast because that was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's okay, Carson. We've all been there.
We've all been there.
We've all been there.
It's a late night, and the Orange are hoping to make it later, and it's going to come down to those 6 sites of what can the Orange put together? How do they now, in those control, how do they play it different? How do they play a more viable strategy? And I think it's going in there and going, they can't really ban anything that I play without completely ruining their play style, so I think I'm just going to do what I just did again.
Yeah, and also I think I lied. It's 5 points, not 6.
It is 5. I did say
you need to win 3 of them. So it's basically control point, but it's all on one map. You don't change rounds or anything like that. It's all one singular round, one singular map. I will tell you this. Flashpoint and Push, from a coaching perspective, are the worst maps to spectate. Because your coach sits there for anywhere between 8 to 20 minutes, and you can't do anything. It sucks. It is the worst thing possible for coaches. I can only imagine how Syracuse's coach and their manager are going to feel going into Flashpoint now is they just have to sit here. They literally cannot say anything. They say what they're going to say now, and then you go into it. And so on Flashpoint, I said it was ×2 speed. It is. So it's 1 second. It's actually like 1.3 seconds if we're going to get technical on the control points per percentage to get up to 100. In Flashpoint, it's like 2.1 seconds. So, or 2.1% per second. So it's literally ×2 the speed, and you get to 100%, you secure a point, you move on to the next one, right? You need to win 3 of them. You win 3, you win the map, okay? So it's literally it's a baby best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a baby best of 5.
What if a best of 5 happened in an acceptable amount of time? Actually, I really love this format. It's very cool. Servasa is going to be our map.
Yeah.
That is a interesting thing. Do you remember last year, Genji? This is one of the funniest moments in my mind. Genji, Harris on Servasa, Dragon Blades against Boise State to try and put it to Game 5, and just a moment too late.
Yeah, I remember I was coaching. Yeah, I was remembering it. It was rough. It was rough. But luckily this isn't Boise State. This is Utah. So Syracuse now going to look to take a victory here against this team. Syracuse looking to ban the Sigma. University of Utah banning the Cassidy. The Sig ban, a little bit of a more interesting ban, right? You sort of want to play to make sure Utah can't play sort of by themselves and on their own points. And it's also, Sig is just annoying to play into just in general when you have a character like Vendetta and a character like Cass. But Utah's going to say, you know what? We're going to ban the Cass. We're going to make you go back into the Sojourn 1v1 with PDK. It worked well for us, and they're going to do it again. So as this map begins to start here, this is going to be the biggest thing for Syracuse now, is finding these 3 points. This is a map that Syracuse has played consistently throughout their collegiate career, and they're now going to be on this map.
Obviously, this is the Finger Lakes region that we're looking at here in upstate New York. Excuse me, we really this is a map that hits home for a lot of us in this really the Syracuse community. This team has had so many Servasa games, it's absurd. They're talking it over it right now. We have got one heck of a start here. Orange have really struggled. I don't think I've ever seen them win this Flashpoint. Will it be different? Can they break the curse? They broke a curse last week. Can they find another one here?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Syracuse is Servasa is always sort of it's an interesting map. It's a back and forth, and it comes down to, you know, who can win yellow. Right now, we'll get to yellow probably eventually here, but who can win that specific point? That is sort of the make or break point with a lot of these teams because it's so powerful. If you can win it, it's a free round win for you, and it's very scary if you can end up winning that point. That's a point on the far left side, so we'll get to there eventually. But Syracuse already starting off strong, 40%.
Immediately there, Lunar goes down, but so does Sam. No tanks anywhere. We're going small brawl here. Azer gets 2. Sonic and PDK collect 1 together. Saint and Sonic goes down. No Lucio as mirror comps essentially right now, other than a few outside characters. And again, both teams lose another player. Azer and Mac go down. REI, the only one that goes down for their side. B-Dog fighting alone on point. It's a 1v1. I mean, B-Dog might not lose this. As Saint kind of just has to back out, jumping around. Bought some time, but the Orange actually got up to 80 there. That's a very good job from them, and while it is a stagger, it is enough time to get all the way back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Syracuse is one-fight territory here to win this. Utah has to win 2 fights to win this point, so going to be important to keep in mind, but now they're building up these ultimates. Teddy versus Azer, right? This Tracer versus this Vendetta. This is one of the things you've got to consider is Teddy has the ability to sort of play around a little bit more and be a little bit more abusive in terms of just long-term, while Azer has a lot more killing potential, instant killing potential, and as I say that, Azer will go down.
If they can get one onto the site here, that'd be very big. Immediately, REI gets rid of Max. Saint goes down to PDK as well, and the Orange are in danger of losing the site fully. Teddy again there gets rid of B-Dog and Lunar as well. Excuse me. PDK gets rid of them, and what you're noticing here, again, I keep talking about it, it's certainly something to notice. The Orange are really struggling in that middle game against the they just don't have enough killability.
Yeah, and that's where Teddy thrives on the Tracer versus Azer on the Vendetta. Azer needs to get into the fight and then put in the pressure. Teddy strengthens in that neutral, in that mid fight like you were talking about, where he can just sort of run around and get a couple picks, get a little bit of damage, and you don't care. Azer needs to get the kill. He doesn't really get the ability to poke as much as Teddy does.
Higher charge there for their Zarya could matter a little bit here. Lunar pushing forward, getting some charge immediately. Very good bubble right there. Off the other end, just gets melted. Lunar, Saint, Mac all go down. PDK, the main culprit of that, but they waste an ult there. Mac will have ult for this next point as the Orange are going to give it up. It's not real overtime. That'll just be 1, by the way. So the Orange will collect themselves there, and you should probably explain just how Flashpoint really works here for the audience at home, because I know you can do better than me.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to mention yellow, though, because that's where we are. This is the point that I was talking about. This is the point that is really important. B-Dog's going to find one onto Sonic, which is going to be a great pick. If you can win this point, you've basically guaranteed yourself a free win. The rest of the points are very, very difficult to cap as a team. But if you can cap this one, you have proven that. Okay, Mac, hang on. I'll shut up.
Hold on. Wait
I'll shut up. Give me a second.
Goes down immediately there, and the team fight is lost. But very close for the Orange. That is a bit rough, obviously. You use an ult there. You have as much as you can, but just Zarya doesn't go down, and you lose that team fight, unfortunately, regardless. Akiriko can't 1v2 Zarya. Maybe Ben can, because Ben's been very good today, understandably. But they'll push forward again. Orange entirely do have the ability to win on yellow here. Yellow's very hard to cap, but for the Orange, especially against team comp, it's going to be a difficult task, and with 2 ults, That's going to be a good one there for the Orange. They force an ult out of their Lucio. Forward again, they only have the Tracer Pulse Bomb to go through. Sam and PDK get rid of Mac and Azer as well. One more as Lunar goes down, and it's just Yellow being Yellow. You really can't take it.
Yeah. And, you know, Carson, the reason Yellow is such a crucial point is this is the point that sort of proves it's a skill check. There's no other way to put it. Yellow is a skill check of a point. It is the point that proves your team's play, your team's play style. And if you can secure it, the rest of these points are kind of just win the game kind of points. And it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bad start for the Orange, and it's certainly not going to get any better here if they can't find a way, but it will come in a certain way. They are going to go back to their original Overwatch 2, no longer even Overwatch 2. The game has progressed further than that. We'll see what they can do here, but it's going to be a Kiriko rush. They'll be big into it. Helping the brawl out a lot, but the Orange respond with one of their own. PDK and REI get one. Saint as well, getting rid of Teddy. And Sonic gets rid of Saint. The Orange as well, they get rid of their Kiriko, and now there is almost no support on the field. Back again, Lunar goes down. They have no support, and Sonic is just enough there to keep Utah alive for just a moment longer. Not a stagger, 2-0 Utah on this 2-1 game score. They're close to ending this one.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with that point here, Carson, is you have the ability to just keep a player sort of sitting on that high ground and the rest of you control low ground. If you don't contest high ground, you just win that point. And Utah had PDK sort of just chilling alone. No one ever contested him, and he had free reign against that point. This is very just sort of everyone throw everyone at the same time and press buttons. This point is going to get messy and it's going to be fast.
Immediately you're seeing that right here. Winston has to go in basically to get some space, but does not have the health really to survive. They do a good job though. Matt gets rid, or goes down, to Sonic, and it's a good start for them. PDK another one in the form of Lunar. Saint just goes off there. It's a rough one. REI gets one more, and that's intentional. They're resetting. They know that is not happening. Saint has ult. That was intentional.
Yeah, and no ultimates used from Utah is a little... It's scary.
They didn't have any, so it was kind of...
Well, they had the grab early on.
Well, yeah, they put it back together.
Not having to use anything is something that you don't want to be in a position of. Syracuse now switching over to that Tracer. Azer going to be switching over, so now you have a little bit more sort of mid-fight neutral poke pressure, but it's going to be a position of Syracuse finding these early picks and not getting themselves picked out.
Immediately we have Sonic here kind of amplifying. Into Mac, who lives through the help of his Lucio using their ult there. As well on the other side, they respond with Lucio ult of their own. PDK goes down, Mac gets another one, clobbers Teddy in that team fight. Double nearly goes down for Lunar, who's going to have the ability to use the ult here, but will decide otherwise. No Sam gets rid of Mac, forward again, into the other end, trying to get rid of Lucio. That's a good ult usage to try and win because they need to win this point. And they're going to have a bit of a difficult path, doing a very good job. Everybody's at low health. They will need some support. REI goes down. The Orange team is still there and is still supported. So there will still be more time. Not obviously, ideally, what you're hoping for. 3 ults used, and the Orange can't find anything, really. Matt gets rid of Sam, but Sam is able to get rid of Lunar, so now no tank on the field. Kiriko Rush has now 3 ults have to be used for the Orange to get this point. And now they've got to keep it with none.
Yeah, and I mean, Utah, once again, it's just... It's a remembrance of what happened on Kings Row second point. They stalled for everything they could have, and they just got out every util from Syracuse. They have nothing. Utah has 2, and it's going to be PDK and Ray. All they have to do is walk on this point, but Mac takes him down. That's exactly what you want to see for Syracuse.
Exactly what you need right there. That is the immediate shutdown. REI still has that ult. They will probably save it so they can combo it. Oh, goodness gracious. No Sam goes down. 4055. 40 no longer. Another one there. REI goes down. No more ults on the field right now for Utah until PDK comes back. Crowd getting a little bit loud here. The small one here as we've... this wasn't really public. We were just starting this space out here, but and some loyal Cuse fans have showed up as we head now into what could be final fight territory if the Orange can't win.
That's a lot of check marks, Carson, from Utah, and Syracuse is still going to be a little late in this fight. PK early with the overclock here, and they're going to walk on to point. Rush is going to be late into this fight, but Saint, a great beat, is going to come back in.
Immediately into the other end, it's going to be a good start for the Orange. They are able to get rid of one in the form of Sam, but Lunar also goes down. We're again to a fight of smalls. One goes down in the form of Mac. REI does a good job there. Overtime, Orange have to collect it here. They try and get on once more. REI gets rid of 2. B-Dog and Mac. Phenomenal gameplay. Saint will back off, trying to go once more. He'll get back on the site just in time. Lucio is not there to clutch. 4 seconds. Can they get there? No, they cannot. And Utah, a clean sweep on Flashpoint. They will take the overall series 3-1. but I can't say it wasn't without a good orange fight.
No, it wasn't. I mean, that Kings Row looked really good from Syracuse. They just felt a little sloppy on second point, but they were able to find themselves around on that defensive side. And then their push game, very, very good. They made the uncomfortable sort of play look into the side of Utah, and it was really, really good from them. But then Utah had the ability to sort of play what they were more comfortable on, moving into Flashpoint, and they got themselves in that victory. And like I said, winning control, Flashpoint typically goes in your favor as well. And this is what this Utah team is so strong in. I mean, you had the momentum begin to go forward. If you are Syracuse, you won that push point, but you had to push yourself into, no pun intended, push yourself into Flashpoint and continue to keep that momentum. But Utah, they were like, you got rid of our diva, you played Cass into Sojourn, fine, let's just mirror you now, and we're going to put our Tracer back into the fight as well, take advantage against the Vendetta, and that's exactly what they did, and it was just very well played from Utah, but not without a fight from Syracuse.
Not ideal, but I think if you talk about that first map right there, I don't know if it had gone any different. Yellow nearly went the way of the orange, but just pretty bad luck generally all around. Not in the right spot. Good gameplay from Utah, obviously, and on yellow, it was really close to being a team win. Obviously, you just saw a bunch of trades, and it happened to be the odd one out was a tank versus a support. And at the end of the day, that's really what lost them that point and maybe lost them that game. PDK did a fantastic job, really struggled throughout the entire matchup, but found their way in that game 4. And I mean, if you want your clutch players to show up at least when it's in the clutch, and that's exactly what he did. Fantastic job there. Mac did their best, and can't say that Mac didn't do a great job. Mac showed some serious flashes for an orange squad that, well, this is technically all-around Robin for Las Vegas, so we'll see how they can do. I wouldn't be surprised if this team can really find a way to carve out a niche, once they head out there. But it'll be a long road still for them, but they have I think what would be an easier opponent in Boise State next.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing to consider or to keep in mind is, at the end of the day, we talked about at the very, very start, Utah is a mechanical team. They look to single you out. They look to sort of spread your team, and they look to just sort of capitalize. Syracuse is a 5-man squad. They play very well together. They have very good fundamentals, but when you put them into sort of those 1v1s and those split situations, that's where that sort of struggle started to come in, because that's what was the strength of Utah, and they were able to play that a little bit better. They were able to sort of force Syracuse to play into the Utah side of things a little bit more than into their own side, and that at the end of the day is sort of what happened. But if you're Syracuse, right, you have some time to sort of figure that out. You have very good players, right? At the end of the day, Mac and PDK, that mirror was very, very close at the end of the day. You had Lunar doing a very good job against that Zarya as well, very, very close. At the end of the day, though, it just came down to they were just slightly able to push you out of your own sort of comfort zone, and Utah was going to take that, or was able to take that win 3-1.
Yeah, and it's not the result you'd wanted in our first stream in the Marley space. As you can tell, it is a really big step up. I know you're excited to see me in a higher frame rate and a higher resolution. I'll shave next time. Sorry, guys. I know you can really tell, but
that's where the tape was on his face earlier.
That's why they didn't see that at all. But
yeah, well,
either way,
I saw it.
Thank you very much for watching our first stream here. It was a lovely time. I hope it was as great for you as it was for us, because this was a fantastic stream. Big shout out to the prod team back there. There's a lot of big things brewing in this space, and this is going to be this is the crown jewel of esports. This is what it is here, collegiate esports. Excuse me. This is the crown jewel of collegiate esports, and I advise you to follow along and keep watching what we're doing, because this here is special, folks. I'm Carson Cass and Ryan Blankenhorn, and that will be all from tonight. Thank you very much, and have a good one.